Undisputed Boxing, we are back to review the action from the weekend. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment if you've enjoyed the videos. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm here with Rick. We had Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray. You know, admittedly, not all of us were totally excited about that one, but I did watch it nevertheless. Anthony Yarde took on Lyndon Arthur for the Commonwealth and WBO international title. And then the one that we gave a prediction for, Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. Where do you want to start, Rick?
Going the order, I think that you went in. I think so. Billy Joe Saunders against Murray, kind of how I thought it would go. I think, you know, we didn't do a prediction on this, but we gave a little. I think we did a little bit of commentary on it and just said it depends which Billy Joe Saunders turns up. And I think we didn't get the super sharp one, but we didn't get the not trained one. We got somewhere in the middle. I thought it was at probably 70-80% is level. At the same time, he was all right for the first half, but he's past it now. He's 38. And he couldn't really push Billy Joe. I don't think so. It was pretty good from Billy Joe Saunders, but not amazing. But he's been out the ring for a while, and they call him a rhythm fighter. So job well done, I think. How do you have it?
Yeah, I'm a little bit with you. I was kind of fearing the worst when I first heard about this fight. I was just like, this is going to be another performance where he just does enough to get by, and just doing enough to get by a 38-year-old, passed over the hill Martin Murray. But I do think that in the back of his mind, he knows that he needs to have a big 2021, or he is probably going to, give it up. I think he said that himself, and he is very much in the shop window for that May date with Canelo. It's probably between him, Golovkin, and maybe Charlo. I think there has been talk about Errol Spence, maybe stepping up to weight division. I'm not too sure about that one. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good performance. I mean, we saw flashes of what he's capable of, what he can do. His slick movement, pivoting in angles. He's catching in with the short, sharp uppercuts and hooks, and got the jab working. He just did everything that we know he's capable of doing. And I do think, looking at Billy Joe Saunders, he is one of the most naturally gifted boxers that we've produced from the UK for a while. So many times have we had, British boxers, the best of, go over to the States and they just get kind of found out a little bit. But I do think Billy Joe Saunders is very much up there with the best of them. So yeah, no, I was pretty excited. Pretty excited about.
Do you think it's his best weight?
No, I don't. I don't. I mean, he looks quite fleshy at the weight, doesn't he? I think naturally he is a middleweight, and maybe you could even argue that he's like light middle. But I think middleweight is really where he is best. I think he is maybe a little bit sluggish, but I think it's just down to like the poor, like the super middleweight division is so poor at the moment. I think it's one of the weakest divisions, actually.
The super middleweight.
Super middleweight division, I think, is very, very weak. And, the fact that Billy Joe Saunders has been able to step up and take a vacant world title, I just don't see, I think, I guess we have been spoiled a little bit with, the Andre Wards and Mikhail Kesslers and Carl Froch, Groves and DeGale have retired.
Well,
I just think it's very sharp.
I don't think it's deep.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think the problem you've got, Smith and Canelo, and you can say which weight is Canelo in, but at the moment he's operating in super middle. So you can't say it's a weak division, but I'd probably say it's not a deep division.
Yeah. I don't know. I think if you've got like 6 to 8, good fight, like with the welterweight division that you've got at the moment, or even the light heavyweight division at the moment, it's pretty stacked. You've got a lot of top competitors, and lightweight as well. I think lightweight is probably one of the best. But yeah, no,
it's hard to call division. It's hard to call the division weak with Canelo operating in it. But I get what you mean. I say it's more as like it's not a deep division like some of the ones you've mentioned, where you'd have to fight someone pretty good just to get a belt.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
But we'll
But yeah,
see.
I agree. I think he does look fleshy at the weight, and I think, you know, we saw him at his best a few fights ago against what's the guy's name? The Canadian in Canada,
David Lemieux.
and Lemieux, yeah, and you know, he that's the best I've seen him. And I think, you know, he at his best way. I think he'd had two fights. He'd had a fight not long before that, and he went straight back into camp. And he, you know, that's why they call him a rhythm fighter. And he sensed danger with Lemieux as well. You know, so that's where you get him at his best, when he's had a couple of fights in a row. He senses danger and he's at his best weight. I was looking at him, and I suppose that there's a danger of this, and we'll probably get on this with Spence in a little while as well. Is I'm looking at him and part of me's judging him on what's going on, is in that he's not fought in, you know, over a year, around about a year, isn't it?
I thought
Over a year, I
he
think.
was on the undercard of the YouTube
That was in November. That was in November.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when we were in the Philippines, actually, when it was on?
Yeah, so that was so it's just over a year ago, yeah. But that again, that wasn't great.
So no, it was awful.
Yeah.
Well, it was awful till the knockout. Knockout's quite good, but so yeah, you judge him on that he's a rhythm fighter and he's not fought in 13 months. And actually, it was quite a good performance considering that, and we know what he's like. But I look at it and I think he's another 1 or 2 gears off the Lemieux fight, and he's going to have to be even better than that to compete with Canelo.
Yeah.
And might not even win it him.
Yeah.
So it's, can he go up that much? I was judging that fight of if that was Canelo in there, and I know that's not totally fair, and he will improve, but that's the way you've got to look at him really now, I think. And I just thought, you know, Murray kept catching him, counter shots with a right hand hook to the body, and I think it was making he didn't wobble, but I think it was wearing him down a little bit. Imagine what Canelo will do, and he'll be a lot more elusive, harder to hit. So it probably can't happen. But if I was Billy Joe Saunders, I'd be trying to get that fight at middleweight.
Yeah,
against Canelo. I think that's the best chance, but it probably wouldn't be. It'd probably be like, you know, super middle. But you know, but there you go. It was what it was, and it could have been a lot worse. We know what he can be like. He's obviously trained. I mean, Hearn was saying something. We've got to get him back out late February, early March. You know, he needs a couple of weeks off, and he goes straight back into camp, and that's when you see the best of him. But who's he going to fight in Feb and March? Canelo won't be fighting at that stage. Smith, if he gets beat, won't be fighting at that stage. So is it going to be an Andrade or, you know, one of the Americans?
I think something tells me that he's going to be fighting Demetrius Andrade next, because I think he's really struggling to find an opponent for Demetrius Andrade, and I think he'll step up and fight him at super middleweight. I think that's what's going to happen if he doesn't get the Canelo fight. But I think it's going to be Canelo Golovkin in May, in Cinco de Mayo, providing Golovkin.
Well, that's another possibility. You know, could Billy Joe get Golovkin? Yeah, Heard working closer to Golovkin, but I mean, I personally would like to see Billy Joe Saunders fight in February, another fight similar to that, maybe slightly better level, and then go into a summer blockbuster. Yeah. I think if he's had two things like that, that's the best you're going to get him in, and it might work out better timings.
Yeah, so, yeah. I mean, there's 3 or 4 like really good fights that can be made between all of those, like, and throw in some of the others as well. Yeah, we'll see. But overall, I was pretty impressed. What did you make of the
Yarde and
Lyndon Arthur?
Yeah, Yarde and Arthur.
Yeah.
Go on, you go on this one.
I was really disappointed by Anthony Yarde, to be honest. I mean, I've been singing his praises for a few years now, and I know he hadn't really fought anybody, but I thought as he was going through the levels, and I think the fight when he fought against Sedge Locker, he's Serbian or Croatian, who'd fought Callum Smith. He kind of went the distance with him, and I thought that was a pretty good test for him. I know he was more campaigner at super middleweight, Sedge Locketis is. He stepped up to fight Anthony Yarde, and I was just thinking, there's actually a really good fighter here, and a, real promising, sort of prospect. And I did raise my eyebrows when they threw him in with Kovalev so early, but maybe they thought that they could, they got him at the right time. Very close, obviously. But against Lyndon Arthur, he just seemed to kind of, I don't know, just run out of ideas. And as he's a pressure fighter, and just really basic things like cutting the ring off. Lyndon Arthur was just able to just circle around him. Then he eventually took center of the ring. He just controlled him with the jab, double jab. I mean, Lyndon Arthur, he executed a very solid game plan to just sort of working with the jab. I don't know if he'd injured his right hand. I think I listened to a couple of interviews, and I think there is rumors that he had injured his right hand, which actually doesn't say a lot if that is the case, that he's beaten him with one hand. And I think it was a dreadful fight as well. Let's not forget that. I mean, it was a real stinker. I do, I enjoy boxing in the purest form, but that was, not a lot of action.
A tough watch.
It was a tough watch. The 12th round was good when Yarde, stepped on the gas a little bit, but he really needed to do that, 4 or 5 rounds before. I did actually score the fight, and I scored it 8-4 to Lyndon Arthur. I thought it was not comfortable when it was close. Some of the rounds were close, and you could argue that maybe some of them were a draw, or you could maybe give them to Yarde. But Yarde didn't really do anything. He caught him maybe 3 or 4 times with his right hand throughout the whole fight. That's not enough.
I had it 15, 115, 113, like some of the judges. I mean, I echo everything you say. It was a boring fight. It was good at the 12th round. I was surprised at Yarde. We never knew how good Yarde was, and he stepped up, against Kovalev, and he came close. So you knew that actually he belongs up there, but he's not. If he'd had another fight, and actually it was quite interesting before the fight. Hay made a good point, David Hay, saying this is actually, other than Kovalev, this is his hardest fight on paper. And I still thought, oh, well, we'll get to him at some point. I thought it'd be a bit tricky. The first 2 or 3 rounds went how I thought. It'll be working him out. What I found fascinating about the fight, and maybe this was because the physical fight was quite boring, was some of the things going on in the background. I thought Tunjay had a nightmare in the corner. He problem with him is his manager, and he absolutely lives and breathes Yarde, and he's so up his arse, and he's so blinded by it. How he should be. I don't blame the fighters really for not knowing how the fight's going, because they're in it and it's so thingy. Tunjay should be saying to him, "This is close." The last 3 rounds, he should be saying, "Listen, you need to step it up now." And it was clearly not there. There was twice he walked out without his gum shield in the corner. What was Tunjay doing? Didn't even put his gum shield back in. Twice. I've never seen that. And there was just no urgency. And what worried me was that in the middle rounds, or like say rounds 4 to 6 to 7, that Arthur was winning, Yarde would stand there and smile and walk back to the corner like, "Oh, that's another round in the bag for me." And I was like, you clearly can't see what's going on. And I just feel that bubble of his team are surrounded in arrogance, and just thought, "We'll beat this guy." And his interview proved it. He had no idea it was so close. His ability to know how judges work was terrible. I did all the pressure. He may have landed some jabs. Some judges do like the pressure, but some don't. Some need you to actually land, and he wasn't landing. So it's really real naive, quite a lot of arrogance. And I also wonder if there was a little bit of not quite trusting the engine. Went for it in the final round, but where was that in like the 9th, and have a round off and do it in the 11th and the 12th? So I found that quite fascinating. But yeah, I mean, I blame a lot on Tunjay. I think it was a stinker.
Yeah, Tunde Ajayi is actually coming in for a lot of stick on this, from what I've seen in some of the comments. And on Twitter and online. And yeah, it was definitely a bit of a head scratcher. I think, I can't remember, it was round 6 or 7 where he came back and, he's breathing pretty heavily and he's just shouting like lines in the camp, lines in the camp. And you're like, I think you need to start talking a little bit more. We need some tactics here, because I think I gave him the fight. He was 5-1 up halfway through the fight to Lyndon Arthur. So, there is, I don't know, there needs to be some tactics. Who would are you pretty like knowledgeable on training?
I wonder if that works in every walk of life. You're having a bad day in the office, like lines in the camp, just to pick them up.
I know, just
your car stops working, lines in the camp.
I know. Imagine if that works in any other working.
Your missus calls just to say it's just not working. Lines in the camp.
Yeah, but it's
true, you're just not performing at work. You're just not doing your job good enough. Lines in the camp.
You know what?
Manchunder's not my boss.
I do kind of get it. It's all part of their, camaraderie in the gym. The Peacock Gym, and
I need to grow up though. Jesus.
Yeah. Who would you, if I don't know how knowledgeable on trainers, who would you, if say for instance Yarde was like, I need to get a new trainer, what trainer would you pair him up with? Who do you think it'd be good with? Because I was thinking about this, but I don't think they're going to go down this route. But let's just play devil's advocate and say that he gets a new trainer.
I don't know. I mean, there's quite a few, isn't there? But I don't know who'd suit his style.
Yeah, I was thinking somebody like maybe like an Adam Booth would be pretty good.
Adam Booth, yeah.
Adam Booth's very good with those kind of because he is a pressure fighter, but he does like to counter a lot as well. Like he's a counter puncher, a really good counter puncher. He likes to have that kind of.
I think Tunde should just stick to the management and not be anywhere near the corner. He can shout lines from the camp and from the front row or something.
Yeah.
Should we move on? This is running this one.
Yeah. All right. Just
do a separate video on
just on this actually, because what's your thinking on, because they're talking about doing a rematch of this, and I don't know about you, but I'm not dying to see a rematch of this fight.
Are we doing a separate video on this though?
On Arthur. Oh, Yarde Arthur. Oh yeah. Yarde. Okay. Let's do a separate one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're doing one on Yarde and Dubois, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes. Yeah, so Spence Garcia.
So I got up at 4 in the morning, so I'm a bit red-eye. Went back to bed at 6. It was quite a good fight. It was almost like there was a lot of energy, and I was almost waiting for it to really ignite, and it never quite did that. But it wasn't a boring fight. I felt that there was a lot of punches landing on gloves in terms of. But to be fair, I mean, again, we did a prediction on this a while ago, and we said, if Spence was at his maximum, he'll do really well, and if he's close to his maximum, he still should win. And I think it was the latter. He didn't quite look his full best, but again, he's been in a horrific car crash. He's been out the ring for 14 months, and he could have picked an easy fight to come back, and that is not an easy fight. And I think he did well behind the jab. I mean, it's been a 7 days of the jabs, really. If you think of Joyce, Arthur, and also Spence. I mean, afterwards, Garcia even said he was surprised at how good his jab was. Yeah. But he's just relentless, and he's got on him. And I do think his engine went a little bit. Spence. He took the ninth off. He'd been pressuring on the 7th and 8th, and he took the 9th round off. I remember thinking, he's just taking a round sensible going into the championship rounds. He took 10 off, and I thought, is he slowing down? And then he kind of stepped it up a little bit. Don't think Garcia. He landed a few good shots, but Spencer's the full package. He's got a good chin. He's got an engine. He can hit hard. Technically, he's really good. He's got an actually really good defense as well.
Yeah.
He rarely gets caught. Hands are always up when he's coming out of exchanges. He, you know, but Garcia, I think the scorecards were pretty much right. Garcia, you know, you've got to go into someone's backyard and grab the things away. And to be fair, they didn't complain afterwards. So yeah, pretty impressed. If it not been for the 40 months in the car crash, I would have said, you know, I expected him to do maybe a little bit more. But with what he's been through, you know, full respect, and for taking that kind of fight as well. And good to see Chris back as well in boxing. I know there's been a few other fights, but I don't know how many were there. There was rumors that there was 20,000. It didn't look 20. I know it was a big place, but sure.
Yeah, I can't really add much more to what you just said, really. I think, I was equally impressed by Spence. I still think there's maybe quite a lot more to give. I think maybe 75, 80% is there. And that, you know, let's not make any mistake of it. Like, Danny Garcia is a world-class operator. I do still think he is undersized at welterweight, and I don't know if maybe stepping back down to light welterweight might be the move for him, because his third attempt now at a world title at welterweight, and I think his only real chance was to really rough him up a little bit on the inside. But actually, Errol Spence was quite impressed with his inside work. He's actually got a pretty, you know, you said, you know, all of his attributes that he's got: great jab, good footwork, head movement. His inside game is actually really good. And yeah, and like you say, on the defense, even if he gets, you know, if he blocks it well, he's moving away, because Garcia did catch him a few times, but it wasn't like a clean, you know, he's very elusive, very, very elusive. Yeah, no, I was really impressed, considering the circumstances. What did
he weigh in at? Sorry, what did he weigh in at? Because I know we spoke on the phone. We both said he looked quite slender, didn't he? Spence, and he didn't overpower him as much as I thought. You know, the Spence a year ago, not a year ago, but you know, the Spence before looked a bit stronger up top, and I thought would be even stronger in the clinches against a Garcia than he actually was. So I don't know if he's lost a bit of strength, and maybe that's, you know, all to come back. He didn't bully him as much as I thought he would in the clinches.
Let me have a quick check on BoxRec now. Will it have it on BoxRec, the weight? I think they usually come in and you know, right on the limit, don't they? I don't think it'll be like a lot less than 147. Than 147.
What were you going to ask?
What's your take on Spence versus Crawford if it happens next?
Well, he was in the crowd, wasn't he? Not in the front row, but he was in the crowd.
Yeah.
I think if we're lucky, it lands end of 2021, but it'd be more likely 2022. Yeah. I think he'll leave PBC. Sorry, I think he'll probably join PBC back end of next year, but then they'll want to milk him a bit, and they may feed him some of the people that, you know, Spence has beat, like a Garcia and that, and you know, Spence may want to get a Pacquiao and a Thurman on his record as well, and then get, you know, imagine retiring with all those, and then Crawford on your record, and Brook, and all, you know, all the others he's done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it might happen, but I think it's more likely early 2022. I think he'll join PBC, but they won't just throw him in straight away. They'll be like, well, come over for 3-fight deal, and we'll build you up, and then have that with a rematch clause or something.
Yeah, maybe milk him a little bit. Yeah, I think if I was a betting man, which I am, I'd probably say Spence Thurman is next, because Thurman hasn't fought Thurman yet. I mean, Spence is already building a very impressive resume, and I think Thurman next, and then I think Crawford takes on Pacquiao, and I'm actually quite hopeful Spence Crawford maybe happens back end of next year, like September, October next year. I think that'll be a good.
It all depends when he joins PBC, if he does, because I think he's still got another fight on with Arum. I think
he has got another fight.
Contract
yeah, but PBC can still buy him out of that. Buy him out of his last fight.
Yeah.
You know, Aaron can finally, you know, get some cash back on him maybe. Yeah, that'll be But yeah, overall, like really impressed. And yeah, it's good to get a prediction right for once.
Especially after last week's howlers.
Yeah, last week was a howler for sure. All right, shall we wrap it up? Did you see any other fights? No.
No, there was. I saw Courtney.
Shannon Courtney.
And Courtney. Her knockout was pretty good, actually.
Okay. I didn't see it.
And Tennyson I saw.
Oh
and,
yeah, I did see that because I saw that it was just because I was pretty limited on time this weekend, and I did watch 3 fights, so there's already quite a lot.
It was only about 2 minutes long, so that one.
Yeah, but I mean,
and then
they all seem really high on this James Tennyson. I don't really quite understand it. Yeah.
No, I think it's early doors. And you had what's his name make a silly prediction.
I know you're going to say, yeah, go on. Who? Johnny Nelson.
Johnny Nelson said he'd put him in there with Tank, and he'd back him. Like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Maybe fights when he's gone through more levels. And then I saw the back end of the. Tell you what, the PBC cards are terrible. Yeah. They're absolutely woeful.
Yeah,
there's no. So if you think of the pay-per-view coming up this weekend with Joshua and some of the fights underneath, and it's for a lot cheaper. I know there's moaning about an extra $5, but bloody hell. But there was this guy, I can't remember his name. It wasn't Fortuna, but it was something like that, Fortunez or something. And I'm sure he's welterweight, but he's like taller than me. He's like 6'2" or something. He looks odd. And he's building a good record. And it's just like, you look at him, you're like, I'm struggling to see how people will beat him because he's just so big. His reach is like 81.
Really?
Something ridiculous. Look him up anyway. He was. I wouldn't call it chief support, but he was like the fight before Spence and Garcia.
Okay. Yeah, there's that. I'll catch up on that. I also want to see Dennis McCann was on the undercard for Yarde versus Arthur. And he's like one of my tips for the future. I've heard really good things about him. But yeah, all right, cool. Let's wrap it up. All right, thanks again for listening and watching. Please like and subscribe.